Hi, today we're going to work with the envelope tool in CorelDraw. The envelope tool is one of the funnest tools in CorelDraw. Funnest, is that a word? It is now. I have my text here, and it's regular text. It's the font is Bookman Black, even though this is red. And my envelope tool's over here on my left menu bar, right there, Interactive Envelope Tool. If I select that, you'll see it forms a box around my word. And you may have experimented with the envelope tool. Basically, you can just grab these nodes and distort your word, or it doesn't have to be a word, this could be anything, but I use it a lot with type to make interesting designs for t-shirts and whatnot. Whenever you want to go back to where you were, of course, you always want to click Control-Z. That takes you back a step. You can also do that on your command bar up here with your undo. Oh, I moved it over here. Undo arrows here. So let's work with this envelope tool. If I'm using curves, you can either use curves or straight lines. You can see this is a curve, and that's the default setting. We're going to keep it at curves for now, and I'm going to get rid of some of my nodes. I don't like these side nodes, and I'll show you why. Text doesn't look good distorted side to side. It just doesn't seem to work. You may disagree, but I usually start by getting rid of these side nodes here. By marquee selecting those and clicking delete. I'm also going to get rid of the top ones. Sometimes I like these top ones if I'm using straight lines. We'll do that in a little while, but for now I'm going to delete them. And I'm also going to turn these lines on the side into straight lines by going up here to my menu bar, straight, and this one's going to be down here. See those two arrows? I want this to be straight. I don't want to distort this sideways. So straight. And now I can do whatever I like. Let's see what we might do. I'm going to marquee select my two bottom nodes and pull this straight down. Make sure it stays straight up and down. And then I'm going to grab I'm just going to click on this this line here. I'm not going to make a node. I'm just going to click to keep it smooth and pull it up. And that's kind of cool. Always Control-Z to bring you back where you were. As you can imagine, I can also do that on the top one and create some interesting effects that way. It kind of looks like a perspective, maybe on a curved surface. I can also grab these two here, pull this straight up, and give it this kind of an effect. That sort of reminds me of Microsoft Word had a thing in the 90s. I don't know if they still have it. I haven't used that program in a while, but I used to be able to do text effects like this. And I think it was somewhat overused, so I don't always use that one. If you pull them both in the same direction, you can do an effect that's similar to your fit text to path, although it's not the same. It's a little bit different, and you have a little bit more freedom if you do it this way, because you can adjust each one individually to give the effect you want, which is not always easy, but you can do that. Or you can also, let's get back to where we were, you can also adjust individual segments using your control arrows like this, just like it as if it were a shape. So you can give it sort of a interesting effect, and you can experiment with these. You've learned a few techniques. That's the fun of this, is there's dozens of things you can do. So you can experiment with the envelope tool, see what you might do. Now let's make these straight lines here. I'm going to marquee select my nodes, go up here to my straight, And now everything's a straight line, so I can't do control arrows anymore. But that gives it a straight effect, which is kind of cool to give it a perspective. Or I can add nodes by double clicking and pull it up that way, pull it up this way. Kind of gives a corner perspective look. And I can also do it the opposite way. If I select this node and that node, pull it down this way, then go up here, select this node and that node, pull it up this way, and now we have sort of a bow tie kind of effect, or maybe a perspective on a corner looking the other way. If you want to go back to plain text, you can select your envelope tool, and up here this little thing that looks kind of like no smoking. This is your clear envelope. Now we're back to regular text where we started. I'm going to show you another thing. If I want to add a drop shadow to this, maybe to make it look a little more interesting, what I want to do is go up here to my shape tool. When you select your text with a shape tool, you can see that these individual nodes appear on your characters. And each individual character can actually be moved wherever you want it by clicking this. And this comes in handy a lot of times with different effects. You can move any character where you want. It's still the same text. And what this is useful for is kerning. Sometimes like right here, that A, I'd like that A to be a little closer to the G, so I just might move that over just a tiny bit. If you want to spread your word out, kerning, you want to click on this, and each click will spread it out a little bit. You can also spread it out manually, and this comes in handy for a lot of designs too. You've probably seen this effect on a lot of t-shirts and things like that. But if I want to add a drop shadow, I want these letters to be spread apart a little bit to give the drop shadow a little bit of room. I'll go back to my envelope and I'll show you what I mean. Once again, I'm going to get rid of these, get rid of these, turn this one straight, turn this one straight, and we'll go back to our Microsoft Word effect here. Go up. And we'll add our drop shadow by clicking this. We'll copy it, paste it. It's pasted on top of itself now. Turn it black. Send it to the back using Shift Page Down or Arrange Order. Sorry, I usually use the shortcut. Order to back of page, to front of page. You have several choices here. Anyway, now I have my black one selected. You can't see it yet, but if I click my arrow key, you can see that it forms a drop shadow. And now you can see why I kerned the letters apart. It gives that black shadow some room so it doesn't look crowded. So, let's have a little bit of fun with this. I'm tired of looking at that font, so let's change it to something else. It's kind of a fun font here. How about this? Hobo. Clear envelope once again. There we go. I'm going to kern it out quite a bit here. More than you might think I would. And get my envelope tool. And once again, delete, delete, hold down Shift, select both of these, straight lines, And we'll do our original effect that we did the first time. Pull it down here to about like that. Pull this up. And then give my text an outline. And we'll give it an outline of 8 points. Make sure to select round corners when you're using a font like this. Behind fill, that's important because you don't want to change the shape of your character. And scale with image. Okay, now we'll turn that one white. And we'll copy this and paste it. Turn it black with a black outline. And send it to the back. Now for this outline, I want to go a little bit bigger. So we'll go 10 points. Keep all my settings here. I'll go a little bit bigger than that. 13. And then I'll copy that again and paste it. Send it to the back. And that's my drop shadow. Now, when a word is symmetrical like this and you want to give it a drop shadow, you don't want to go to the down and to the right or down and to the left like we did with the other one. The reason for that is it doesn't look right. Even though this is visually correct, you can see that the C looks like it has too much of a drop shadow and the E looks like it doesn't have enough. And that's because of the curve of the bottoms. If you want to make it look realistic, you could break this apart and do them individually. But what I recommend is when it's symmetrically curved like this, you just bring your drop shadow straight down. And that's kind of a fun effect, I suppose. One last thing, when you finally get your envelope the way you want it to look, I recommend that you convert your shape to curves. Convert your text to curves. See this? Convert to curves under Arrange on my menu. And what that does is converts this to a curve. So this is no longer text and it's no longer in an envelope. The reason for that is if you're going to send this somewhere for someone else to work with and you've used an envelope effect, if you convert it to curves, there's much less of a chance that they'll mess it up. They're not going to have to figure out what you're doing. If you save this as a vector file and someone opens it in a different program, say Inkscape or Illustrator, it may or may not appear the way you want it to, but if you convert it to curves, it'll be exactly the way you want. And that's the envelope tool, at least an introduction to it. Experiment with the envelope tool, have fun with it, and I hope your next project goes well.